Hey guys, Stealth here. Again, Wonsan Harbor. By now you might be getting tired of the map, but it is an excellent battlefield for short-range infantry warfare. Right now I'm looking at Imperator's gameplay, and he is using a Russian motorized deck. So he has quite a few fast units which are moderately well armed, and he can use quite a bit of good infantry. So right now he is going with just the UAZ, the command UAZ. I'm going to skip it up a little bit. Now, I was on TeamSpeak with him and we were discussing what kind of units best to bring in. T-55 recon tank was not really the best option because he was planning on, where was his marker again? I believe going somewhere in the middle towards Echo. I'm going to take this side with Baron, and over here Antich and HC-45 are going. So for now he's just have to take the left flank. He's bringing in a couple of so-calls using transports. Now this is in Wonsan Harbor possible, but preferably I only use helicopters the moment that I need to get somewhere very quickly. Of course some units are only capable of being brought in by helicopter, but when you're in Wonsan Harbor, the better alternative you could say would be to not take a helicopter but just take a transport, because although these things are armed, they are very easy to take down. It was a very low in-point tactical game, and with that, losing a helicopter is giving the enemy giving the opposition points, and that's not something you want to do generally. So, just taking a minute to admire the view as these units are touching down and the infantry is being deployed. Let's get the HUD back up. What we have here is Commandosis. Now these are very good units at fighting close range. They got an RPG, they got an assault rifle. Sorry, is that assault rifle? I should check that. AK-74, yeah, I think that's an assault rifle. And of course a machine gun. So they are going to be very effective, and they're not the only ones. Now again, this is a bit of a highlight of where you should not be using transports like helicopters, because now they have to walk the entire distance to push up. On the one hand it's safer, on the other hand you can see that these SPW-60PBs got a bit further than him with the helicopters. So next time if you're using an urban warfare situation like this, it would be a bit better to just bring transports, and by that I mean ground transports. NATO is deploying a couple of Gongyungs, and interestingly they're putting down Pathfinders. I'm not sure why you'd want those in a town, but okay, it's a possibility. Ali Walla surrendered, which was the first NATO guy. He was the only NATO guy who had points at this time. So I was surprised that he left. I'm not sure why. Anyway, Commandosis are pushing up, reinforced by a lot of motor Strelkies. We got some transports. We got a napalm tank from Jenga. Jenga also has these motor Strelkies. Satan SS-18 over here has some LSTRs, which took really a very heavy beating because they lost a lot of their units. But fortunately they made it out alive. So Commandosis are engaging the Panzer Grenadiers. I guess the Pathfinders already got wiped out over here, or they changed buildings and went over back of the bridge. Commandosis are engaging. Now this is a good position, but it can also be very risky, because in this block of buildings you're not only dealing with this block and a little bit of this road, but also this entire overlapping area. So if they were to put, for example, snipers or units which carry grenade launchers, so grenade launchers I should say, then this is very bad news for your infantry. Also, an autocannon on this bank of this small river would be a problem, because the Commandosis would not be able to engage those, while you can, with your autocannons, pound into these Commandosis. So yeah, it's a good position, and pretty much the only call he had over here. But be a bit careful, because you can get wiped out over here. Now you could argue that he could have pushed up to this building. Yeah, there is a point to be made for that, but there was already quite a lot of fighting going on with the Panzer Grenadiers, who were dying very quickly. And there were martyrs over here. Those autocannons would not do very nice things to these Commandosis. So I'm gonna go and call this a pretty good decision. Now let's see, he's bringing in a flak. These are, for urban warfare, pretty okay units, because they have a lot of frontal armor. especially for a transport, for an AA gun slash anti-ground gun, which only costs you 20 points. But these guns, I still really haven't found a good use for them. So if you want to bring them in, do so at your own hazard. Or if you want to leave me a comment telling me why exactly these are good, please let me know down below. Anyway, back to the Commandosis. At this point, retreat the Commandosis, because losing a 40-point infantry unit is very, very painful. So make sure you get these out. Push them back to, say, about there. Get a logistics unit next to it, get them repaired. Or resupplied, if you will. Over here we could already see that the Commandosis, or maybe the Modestrelkis, I'm not sure who, but they spotted these commando squads. And of course that is the main target over here. Because these guys are worth 100 points and they're capturing the zone for the enemy. We do not have any command units in here right now, but so my own units are going to take care of that later. I got some command infantry over there, but that's of later concern. For now, these Commandosis and the LSTRs are only taking fire. The Vampire is the only one which has the range to actually engage some of these units. And the Napalm tank is suppressing the other side of the riverbed. So excellent play by Jenga here. Now, Imperator could also have brought in a Napalm tank like that to make sure that he would be a bit more effective at pushing in. You can see that we were not being coordinated with Jenga because he just pushed his infantry into a hot zone. The first building you want to capture on this side of the riverbed is this one. And fortunately this building can be captured, otherwise they would be right inside a wall of flame. He's playing very, very aggressively, trying to take out the command squad, but they're hiding in, or they were hiding in this side of the block, so they didn't actually get anyone. Now they're getting engaged from three sides. The Grizzly isn't getting involved yet, but you got command squad, you got the Martyr 2, and you got Panzer Grenadiers. And while Commandosis are very good and pretty tough units, in a situation like this you either need more units or you need to put down a smoke screen to make sure your units can escape, because this is not going to be a good trade-off. Jenga realizes that and he comes to his aid with a Napalm tank, which instantly gets taken out by an ATGM. And based on the profile, this is an ADATS. And here you go, it is an actual ADATS. So, luckily the napalm has burnt down, and this means that we can now use these other blocks again. But these Commandosis are getting completely suppressed. It would have been better over here to coordinate this with the guys that were here from, you can barely read the name, Anti and Jenga. That would have been a bit better. Now these Commandosis are being rearmed and resupplied by this Coloss, but these guys are doomed. So when you're pushing in like this, either have mortars ready to support your infantry, use more infantry, or be ready to use napalm tanks or stuff like that. Helicopters and planes were not an option because of the ADATs right there. And now he has mortars pushing over this bridge, but those are pretty easily taken care of using the Commandosis, which have more or less enough AP value to take them down. 15 AP value versus the Martyr, which has 10 frontal armor and 10 strength. So pretty much a 20-point vehicle, I suppose you could call it, armor-wise. I know that's not exactly how it works, but for now let's just go with it, that it needs 2 hits to take down a Martyr. And these LSTRs with their Vampire need a bit fewer hits, and they can pretty much one-shot those. So this FLA is almost running out of ammo. If he would have pushed this thing up a bit further, he could have engaged maybe the Panzer Grenadiers on the other side of the river. And that would have also helped the forces over here. Now backup 88 left, again a NATO player, 0 points still. And we're doing okay on this side. Imperator scored 50 points, I have scored only 25 points. Jenga, who is also operating in this zone, has definitely scored the majority of the points. And Dentemo, he might be operating on this side, I'm not sure, yeah, here he is also doing a good job. So, the command zone just got captured again, so that command infantry has to be in that building or somewhere over there. And I'm putting down an attack marker on this unit to notify Imperator that he can use this unit to push up a bit further. Hopefully though he will not get in the range of that ADATS, and using the cover of these buildings is better. So he's going to try and get there, and I think that the ADATS might not be able to get him. Yeah, that's going to be tight, and he unfortunately got him anyway. Now over here on this side, Imperator also has a command vehicle, and that freed up my own command vehicle, which was command infantry. So my command infantry is now in this sector, and now we have control of it, so we get a bit more income, which is very, very important in a tactical game like this. He could use the Sokols. They got autocannons, they're effective against infantry, but so long as this ADATS is over here, it's a very, very dangerous position to get into. HC45 was also in our team, and he played very well, especially in communicating with other teammates. Putting markers down like this just saved us a 40-point commando squad. Unfortunately, he had to evac it at the last possible second, so the bombs didn't actually get dropped. But by doing stuff like this, you save your teammates from friendly fire. Now over here he has an artillery gun, but the artillery gun is nowhere near a fob, and that's because nobody decided to bring a fob. So while this is a pretty good artillery unit, it's pretty fast at firing, although of course not as fast as most artillery units, but it does a lot of HE damage, 10 points. But without any resupply units or any logistics nearby, this is not going to fire more than 4 shots. So the better alternative here would have not to bring an artillery unit like this, because also the shells from this thing have to travel all the way across the map until they might hit something in here. The better alternative would have been to bring mortars and put them somewhere inside these buildings. So use the cover of the buildings to defend against ATGMs, and then suppress this area. The meanwhile, his commandosis are fighting diggers. That is not something you're going to win, because these diggers got the Mini-Me, which is a very, very good machine gun, and that makes it so that the commandosis are not going to win it. I am trying to push up with my Legions on this side, desperately trying to help him, but I just could not pull it off, and he gets taken out, unfortunately. Now, one of the NATO guys, Pfad, very cleverly pulled up a Monitor Zippo. This thing is the napalm version of the Zippo, or of this monitor ship. It also carries these Bofors, this one over here, and they are very, very good at suppressing infantry and taking out AA guns, as you can see. They can also spread up a lot of fire over this surrounding area. So for me and my Legions, this was a very, very bad development. I'm trying to go for the command squad, but the monitor will have nothing of that, and my Legions get wiped out instantly. These command squads, or these command guys, just did not want to go down. They just kept on surviving. One guy left. He kept jumping them around from building to building, so he played very, very well. And I think that now eventually they got taken down by the Motostrelke, but not before we threw a lot of forces at it. He's bringing in his Sokols to engage possibly the Zippo or the diggers. But of course, this is never going to work. The monitor can use both the Bofors and the secondary weapons, which you don't actually see on the craft, but which are there, I believe. And he can only return fire at it with a 2 AP power autocannon. This thing has a bit more, or it has 2 frontal armor, 2 side armor, 2 back, and 2 top, or 0 top. But it's going to take down your helicopters most of the time a bit faster than the helicopters can take down the ship. What saved him was this T-80 by Jenga again. So Jenga again saved his forces. But with this stuff, be very careful as you're doing it, because this can cost you another 25 points or 50 points if they manage to take both of them down. But now he was able to save Jenga's forces with these Sokol's autocannons. So good play there, backing up your allies like that. As he's pushing up into this town, I'm pushing up into this side, so we got a pretty good united front over here. For now, the battle, again, another guy left, Vervun, which is also a NATO player. He only got 12 points. So either these guys were very unlucky or not very experienced. And you can see by the mini-map that we had most of the zone under our control. Sokols are also engaging the Humvees, but for some reason, and I still haven't figured out why, they just won't fire. They're not reloading, because a helicopter barely needs to reload. They are aimed at the Humvee, but I'm thinking that they might just be outside by, I don't know, 2 or 3 meters before they can actually engage the Humvee. Anyway, he was not able to take the Humvee down, and another one, this BDR-80, took it down. He was considering going for these martyrs, but I advised him against it, because a martyr with an autocannon and 10 frontal armor is just going to turn this helicopter into, and there we go, 2 bits of scrappy helicopters very quickly. If this Sokol would have been the variety that carries 80 GMs, you could take out these mortars no problem. But with this was a bit of a bad play here. So with that, make sure your helicopters engage targets which they can kill. If you do it like that, you can make sure that your forces survive and that you can actually get some points. He's bringing new forces, and now I agree with his call to call in Sokol helicopters. So these are probably Commandosis again. The advantage of it this time is that he can be more effective faster. He can bring in these units faster than normal transports would. And later on in the game this does make a difference, because this is the way that you can score a few more points. Now, NATO has 785 points, we have 1700 points, so we got a lot more points than they do. And the points are pretty spread out over the entire team. I'm operating here with some of my forces, trying to reinforce the lines. I got a scout team over here, sniper team, just spotting everything. And this should give Imperator also the opportunity to push in with his units. There's no autocannons here. There's no AA guns in here, it seems. Not that I can see anyway. And I'm pushing in with my Zanshis on this side. So he could have just used those Formosas, or sorry, those Commandosis inside the Sokols, landed them right there, or over on this side to just aid that area. Although there was a Flak Panzer Jeopard A2 here. And the command infantry is taking a lot of fire in this zone, so this should also be pretty quickly neutralized. So just wrapping up the game, and as these NATO players realize that there is no way they're going to survive, they're just quitting one by one. And that's why there's only 15 seconds left on this replay. Commandosis are offloaded, but by this time they're of course too late. And they're pretty ineffective. Shirik surrenders. Shirik is another NATO guy. Silver Turret had already left. I think Gen Re might have already left, seeing that he had 0 points. Anyway, this is a very good play by our team, mostly. We all got a few points. Some people did better than others, of course, as always with Wargame. Imperator lost a bit more units than he scored. And this was down to the Commandosis that he lost, and the helicopters that got killed. If he hadn't lost those forces, he might have done a bit more in points, because the Commandosis would still be there. And he wouldn't have lost 150 points. Still, a combat warfare or an urban warfare map like this in a tactical gameplay is not that easy. So keep in mind that while you're micromanaging a very few amount of units, you will not have the best counter to a unit. And that is why you might have a bit of a worse ratio versus normal, say, standard 2v2s or 10v10s. Anyway, I hope you liked this gameplay. I hope you agreed with my commentary. If you've seen anything else in the gameplay that you think that could help Imperator, please leave me a comment down below this video to help him out. And with that, that's the end of this video. So thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you liked it, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching. See you next video.